We think we can outsmart the algorithm, and we can't, and we just make results worse. It's pretty difficult embracing the fact that our control has just diminished and diminished and diminished. I mean, you should have probably seen it coming over the last 5 years, but I think it's definitely been a challenge for anyone who's used to controlling everything. For me, the biggest transformation is...
Welcome to the DTC Insider Podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisentul.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the DTC Insider Podcast. I'm Brian Roisentul, your host, and today I'm joined by a legend in the Meta ads space. I mean, it was Facebook. Instagram didn't even exist when he started out. I learned from him. I respect him a lot. And many other people in the industry learned from him as well and respect him so much. So I'm super happy to introduce Jon Loomer for the fourth time on the podcast. Hey, Jon, thanks for being here.
Hey, Brian. It's great being back, man.
Yeah, so the anniversary episode. Why not? Right, as usual.
That's right. I'm sure nothing's changed since the first one. You know, it's all the same
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, you're as young as the first one. I don't know. I have more gray hair, but you look very similar. Okay, so why don't we get to it? You know, many people watching this, listening to this, they are thinking, what's going on? Why does Meta hate me? Why performance is tanking? Why when he's talking about Andromeda? So through this interview, I would like to break all of those things down and try to, to shed some light into every single, confusing content that's out there. Why don't we start with what has changed in 2025 since our last conversation on Meta?
I mean, I'd have to go back and listen. It's mainly the same, but, progressively less and less control. Obviously, we would have heard about Andromeda at that point a year ago. I don't think we were actually seeing it. Advertisers weren't really talking about it. I think the vast majority of talk about Andromeda these days is just to get attention because I think we do overemphasize what it actually does, maybe even distort what it actually does. But for the most part, look, if we've been doing this since 2018, for me, it's 2011 or whatever, it's pretty difficult embracing the fact that our control has just diminished and diminished and diminished. I mean, you should have probably seen it coming over the last 5 years, but I think it's definitely been a challenge for anyone who's used to controlling everything and now kind of giving up that control and a matter of trust you have to Meta. For me, the biggest transformation, whether you want to connect this to Andromeda or not, doesn't matter, is much more focused on ads. I mean, over years past, I was guilty of this. Many advertisers were guilty of this. We were all focused on the levers we were pulling in the campaign, the ad set, especially the ad set, especially targeting. And that kind of stuff is much less relevant now. So really the focus is on, if you're not getting good results, it's the ads, usually. It could be something even beyond the ads if you're lead generation. But I think that's the biggest change.
Remember in the good old days, I used to have my saved list of interest for each industry I used to work for. So it was like, I don't know, homeowners. Okay, and I was going through my old onboarding form, and I used to ask them, what celebrities or influencers in the space do they follow? What tournaments, if it's, I don't know, sports, are there? What magazines? And it was all about that. I don't know, it was right or wrong. It was what worked. We had our audience seated in the theater, and it was enough with a simple sign, aka ad, and saying, the simple message. But these days, as we all know, creative is I don't know if you consider it that way, but yeah, creative is the new targeting. There's no other
Yeah.
way of targeting that. But before going there, everyone again is talking about Andromeda, but could you please explain in just a few sentences what Andromeda released? Because by then I think it was released, the release also of Lattice, Gem, and Andromeda. All people, like everyone talks about Andromeda only, but none of them, or I could say 99%, they ignore what it really means.
Yeah, look, I am convinced if it didn't have a cool name, no one would be talking about it. Like if it's just the ad retrieval system, which is essentially what it is, we probably wouldn't even know that this thing happened. It's just that Meta made a big deal out of it, in like the end of 2024 that it was coming, along with Lattice and Gem, like you said. But ultimately, all it is the first step of ad retrieval. So it's so important to understand that it was necessary because the old system for ad retrieval would not hold up with the way ads are created now. There was a bottleneck because there's so many variations that are generated because now we're doing 5 primary text, 5 headlines. Now we're doing also 5 AI generated text headlines. Now we've got the AI generated enhancements, the Advantage Plus creative enhancements. We've got related media. We've got all of this stuff. Instead of back in the day where you had one headline, one primary text, one image, one video, you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of potential combinations for a single ad. And the old system, the old hardware and software couldn't handle it, didn't do it well, didn't do it efficiently. So Andromeda was the upgrade that could handle like thousands times more variations. And what Andromeda does is it goes through all those variations and creates a pool of a few thousand options that goes to the next step. So they're eligible to be shown, but that doesn't mean they're going to be shown. So it's funny to me that Andromeda is like this boogeyman that advertisers talk about it being like this algorithm and whatnot. It's not that. All it is an improvement, an ad retrieval to make it more efficient. If you want to blame anything, you could technically blame Gem because that's what's responsible for the ad ranking and ultimately probably what people are seeing. But the connection then between Andromeda and creative diversification is because this hardware and software are so much more efficient in handling all this. It can deal with more variations. So Meta's like, yeah, so no, don't keep creating ads the way you used to. We might have wanted you to before because our systems couldn't handle it, but now we can handle it. So give us more and we can find the right combinations for the right people, et cetera. So create ads with videos and images and carousels. Use all those primary text and headline variations, use different angles and psychology and pain points and all that stuff. All these things that we weren't really talking about, at least I wasn't, more than a year ago. So to me, I think the biggest impact of Andromeda is I am entirely focused on the ads. And I did not come up in a true, like I've been doing this for a really long time. So I didn't come up in a true marketing background. I didn't go to school for marketing. So like I was an accidental marketer. When I was creating ads, the ads themselves were like the afterthought. It was all the levers I was pulling and the ads just worked because everything was cheap anyway. And I was reaching the right people and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm like, the targeting we have virtually no control over. So don't even waste your time with it. You can make things worse by messing with all that stuff in the ad set. And now we got to focus on the ad. And that's the biggest change for me.
Yeah, I always used to write that most media buyers I met, at least, hated, including myself, hated the ad layer. It's something that we blocked, like those pop-ups that we don't want to see. You know, they're like we just ignored them. They were there, but it was like I optimized the campaigns because back then there were many campaigns, many ad sets per campaigning for us. Likes, whatever, even different degrees to or percentages of lookalikes, like geolocations, everything, right? And then the ad was there and it was like, but are you looking at the ad? I was asking, no, not really, but look at the ad. And now it's it's like we are not out of tools or levers, but it's not the levers we learned how to, handle or best change, because now let's say marketing is on. I don't know if media buying is out, but it's more marketing and less
Yeah.
technicalities.
Right. And I've been saying this for about a year or two, but those who are getting into meta advertising now, new, are at a huge advantage. Because the rest of us who've been doing this forever are trying to cling to all this control and all these levers and all this kind of stuff. And creating the ads, that's the hard part, but it's stuff we know we need to start figuring out. The new people, they know, like they hop in and like, oh, like the campaign, the ad sets, that's done for me already. I don't even have to really mess with any of that stuff. I got to focus on the ads. And that is their focus immediately. And they don't have all the distractions that we do of all the stuff in the back of our head saying, well, is this the right audience? Should you mess with your placements? It's all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting transformation.
Yeah. Something that happens to me, to my team, and to many people I know, I'm sure, I don't know if it happens to you, is that I look at Meta, at the ads manager specifically, and I see all kinds of features that I don't know whether I should use them, why they're still there, some of them. So I would like to get your take. I think it will be interesting for the listeners, for the listeners to get, learn more about what Jon Loomer does or recommends in terms of, do you use some or all of the AI enhancements suggested by Meta in the ads? Do you still signal the pixel with interest or lookalikes? What do you keep using? Do you use the testing feature? Like, what do you use of everything that Meta still proposes?
So on the targeting side, retail targeting, interests, behaviors, that kind of stuff has been around for so long. Understand that. I just stumbled on this recently, that now detailed targeting is only a suggestion for 11 different performance goals. This is going to be kind of a long story, but originally when detailed targeting expansion, which is what it was called, came out, it was an option to expand the audience. It was a checkbox for any performance goal. Then it became fixed when you're optimizing for conversions, value, or app events. Then it became fixed also for the landing page views and link clicks. And then we had a period of a few years in there where nothing happened. Now it's 11 different performance goals. So pretty much the most popular performance goals includes the instant form leads, it includes conversion leads. Your detailed targeting is just a suggestion, and we have no way of knowing whether it's making any impact at all. We can't prove it, and Meta won't give us a way to prove it. Even with testing, that's just proving it on a small singular basis. We don't know globally whether it really matters. Lookalike audiences, same thing. Lookalike audiences are now expanded automatically. It's only a suggestion. Automatically, can't turn it off for 9 different performance goals. So, a point in mentioning that, I do not care about them at all. Like detailed targeting lookalikes, I don't put them in as suggestions. If you have a new brand, new ad account, new whatever, feel free, put it in there as a suggestion. Is it going to do anything? I don't know. We have no idea. It's not my concern. I'm not stressed out about it. You're at a disadvantage with a new account, new business anyway. And if it does something, it does something. But we should not be approaching those things as a focus, as a lever that like, my ads weren't working because of this. Move away from all that stuff. Like, look, there are little things to worry about regarding Meta's optimization, but they're not because of your targeting inputs. Even on the age and gender stuff, if there are weaknesses there that you need to fix, there's a problem to be solved. Guess what? Value rules can now solve that. So targeting, I don't touch anything now, unless it's an exclusion because I'm excluding the people who've already done the thing I'm promoting. Placements, don't touch. Once again, I could use the value rule if there's a problem, a known problem related to a certain optimization, but otherwise it's on. My main point in pointing that out is like, that none of that matters. Ultimately, the things that really make a difference are going to be your ad. So when I create an ad, I turn most of this stuff on. the enhancements, if they're relevant, right? So like if I'm not doing anything with the product catalog, there's no reason to turn on the product catalog one. Otherwise, I turn on pretty much all of them. The AI generated images tend to be garbage still. The backgrounds I've found can be fine. So I'll select a few of the backgrounds in there, and they just add to the potential, images that can be shown. They add to the creative diversification. The related media, if there's relevant related media, oh, absolutely. Honestly, I wish we could have more control over the related media, because I would love to just throw in a ton of images. They're all related for a single ad, but Meta is pulling those dynamically and they're not always right. And it's kind of frustrating. But otherwise, 5 primary text, 5 headlines every single time. Oftentimes I will kind of read through the AI generated ones, might select a couple, might edit a couple just to give it even more. Oh yeah, what's the name of that feature that turns on, that basically takes the site links and turns it into carousel and collection. I'm losing the name of that. I turn that on because I customize my site links. I turn on just about everything.
The site, not the website branding, but something like that, or
It's related to to your branding settings, right? With the site link and applying to the site links and whatnot. But
what
flexible format I'll use sometimes too. Yeah.
we like for most brands, at least we work with, they are e-com brands. They are very jealous about the what's out there, and I get it, and they get it too. That sometimes ugly ads work better, but sometimes they sell image. They sell luxury. They sell fashion, so they don't want AI music that they cannot control. So
you can also customize the music though. That's one thing that advertisers like to say, oh, the music's terrible. Well, you can also customize what music is selected. Yeah, you kind of limit on your options maybe, but yeah.
It's cool. So that's about the ads. And then what about the ad account structure itself? Like back in the day, let's talk about advertisers with a decent budget, because I think that's, I don't know if the most challenging part right now, but with a low budget, yeah, one campaign, that's it. But we found over the years that where we used to have like 30 campaigns, we have 3 or something like that. So how do you typically structure or advise structuring campaigns that have as a goal, let's say, purchases, leads, etc., that want to scale over time?
It's a great question. It's one of the things that I focus on so much. And actually, even a year ago, I was already talking about this before that even, but the amount of unnecessary complexity we add that doesn't help us is really frustrating, honestly. It doesn't even matter if someone reads my content all the time and listens to my podcast. I will sit down with them and look at their campaigns, and it's like all this nonsense. And the thing you're doing there, a couple things, you're watering down whatever budget you have. So even big budgets, I don't care. It's like you're splitting it up in all these different places. But like we talk about targeting, like a lot of times they're creating different ad sets and different campaigns for different targeting. Like, what are you doing? Like we have no control over that targeting anymore. So like you're creating different ad sets for different detailed targeting and lookalikes, and like this doesn't even make sense. So that kind of stuff, yeah. So it doesn't matter how big, simplify, minimal number of campaigns. And the way I generally recommend is, we start with one campaign for number one, what is your most important goal, right? So especially bigger budgets, probably going to be a purchase. So you got one sales campaign with one ad set, and then do all your stuff with the ads. And bigger budgets probably going to be create more ads and have more resources there and whatnot. The bare minimum, right? They probably also want to build their email list, collect leads, whatnot. So yeah, go ahead. Create a leads campaign as well. Optimize for leads or whatever that action is. Build your email list. Have a separate campaign. Could a big budget advertiser also do something based on engagement and awareness? Yeah, once again, you have an advantage as a big budget that you're not taking budget from one goal, your most important goal, and then putting it to awareness or engagement or something. Engagement, I don't know. Meta, we've had so many years to fix this, and their optimization for any kind of engagement is just trash. I don't know why we still haven't gotten to the point where we can say optimize for quality engagement, not just any engagement, but we're still in this point where it's like, if you optimize for link clicks or landing page views, it's just going to end up with a bunch of people who either they click on everything or it's bots or whatever. But Meta doesn't care because it's like you said, you want clicks, we got you clicks. If it's through play views, it's going to be shown in places where they're forced to watch your video. They don't care about your video. Can we get to the next step of engagement where it's quality engagement? So can big budgets throw their money around at engagement? Go ahead, I guess, right? And then beyond that, you would just have to have a very good reason, which they exist, for creating additional complexity. So creating, usually wouldn't be more campaigns. It could be, but it would usually be more ad sets, right? So like for sales, if you have a business goal to sell different product lines, then you can't just throw all of your ads for every product line into one ad set and say we're good, because you've got people screaming down your neck from different product lines saying, hey, we got to promote this and that. Or it's different locations because you're a big business and all of these different locations need potentially equal treatment, and we need to send people to all those different ad sets in most cases. But so there are always exceptions. The main thing I push though is like every time you're going to create complexity, ask yourself whether it's actually necessary. If it is, it is. But you want to prevent that as much as possible. Like what I don't believe in these days is creating separate campaigns or ad sets for testing. That's where I use the creative testing tool. I start every new set of ads with the creative testing tool because it answers a whole lot of questions about, once the algorithm starts spending money however it wants, you will know, okay, well, it's not giving that ad any budget now. We ran the test before and it didn't do that great. So, okay, I understand. You don't have to answer those questions later. So it goes within the main ad set as I run the test. So I don't add any of that extra complexity, with separate campaigns, separate ad sets. The whole testing plans of like trying to isolate the best image and headline and primary text, it's all nonsense because we need thousands and thousands of combinations. We need lots of combinations to have a successful ad. I'm not trying to find the best combination or even the best ad. We should be looking at results in aggregate. So there's a lot of added complexity. I just say just unnecessary these days.
Well, he answered some of my questions, so we can wrap up the episode. No, I'm just kidding. So I was going to ask you some follow-up questions related to what you said about one, the business needs, such as, promoting multiple products, and the one about testing by, you said the creative testing tool. Are you referring to the meta testing tool, the one that you can test up to 5 creatives within an ad, or an external tool?
Yeah. So I think it's 5 now. There have been variations of it that's up to 10. I had that for a while and then it went away. So I think that was just like a test of the test. But yeah, and look, for bigger budgets, that can be a little restricting, that it's only up to 5. But I've found it to be really helpful to be part of my process when I've got this new set of ads. It could be as few as 2 ads because you can't test existing ads with the creative testing tool, which I don't completely understand. So that's another reason why I would do it from the start. So I duplicate a couple ads, edit them. These are going to be new ads. They're going to be part of the test. And then once the test is over, those ads keep running. But normally, because otherwise, if you want to test later, you got to duplicate them. And then that all defeats the purpose because you're duplicating them. Now you got competing ads that are the exact same and it doesn't even make sense. So yeah, I feel like I'm in the minority on people who love that tool, but like that's a huge part of my process.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm talking about real, businesses we work with, and not what I hear on the internet, right? And they have a clear need these days. There are 2 type of let's say, clients that we have had or currently have, those who say, we don't have, enough time, money, resources, or will to create new ad creatives. So work with the that you have. And those that say we have infinite, we can toss a thousand ads at the same time,
Yeah.
play with it and test and tell me the winning ones. So the first one, again, not easy, not hard to please. It would be hard to get results or not, but it's what we have. I think that these days for the, let's say, between quotes, unlimited resources brands, they do want to push multiple products. They do want to find um, winning angles, not just because they want to replicate what works and try to do more of that and remove the fat between quotes. So a testing campaign is tricky, and we have never been a fan of those. You test those, I don't know, ABO, whatever you want, and then you replicate that in an evergreen campaign. It doesn't work. So,
Right.
but these days, what we see is that we have I don't know, 1,000 ads literally running at the same time, the same ad set. Literally three of them. And it's not because of budget constraint. Three of them will get spent. So they'll spend thousands of dollars each of them. And they won't leave any room for the others to run. So what do you do in those situations? Because I'm sure
Well,
that many people are in the same spot.
yeah, it's funny because it really depends, because sometimes not running is relative, right? So in most cases, all the ads get some impressions, right? So it might not be very many impressions, but what I see in that case is if it's getting impressions, then it's still contributing in some way. It doesn't matter whether it's being responsible for the conversions or not. It also helps prevent ad fatigue, creative fatigue, because you've got multiple combinations going. But I would say that when ads just stop, because basically if Meta stops showing an ad, after 14 days, they'll just turn it off. And when that happens, that to me is a signal that, yeah, that ad wasn't good enough. And I need to create more ads, potentially. I think the problem with, like you mentioned two completely opposite sides, right? The one that doesn't really provide anything. In some cases, that could be helpful. On the other hand, they want to keep cycling in new ads all the time. You don't need to keep cycling in new ads all the time. The way I see it is, if you're getting great results, just let it go. Like, let it eat. Let those ads that are doing so well do their thing. Like, you don't need to introduce new stuff. But the main reason you'd be introducing new ads, it's to solve a problem that your results are okay, but you want them to be better. And so it's like, okay, well, what worked before? What could we do? What didn't work? And again, we're going to look at what worked before and what didn't work is more of a general now. We're not looking at specific headlines so much and specific primary text in images. It's just like, in general, what has been working, what has Meta kind of favored, and to do something along those lines to learn from that. And also, maybe just as important, what wasn't getting shown at all. Let's avoid that. Let's avoid that approach. But these new ads, in the spirit of creative diversification, should be very unique otherwise, in terms of visuals and whatnot, compared to what's running. Because if they're not unique, that's also where Meta's going to say, why do we need these ads? We don't need to show these ads. They're already running, and they just won't run those. So I would say, yeah, the infinite resources can be a challenge, because you don't need to constantly be running new ads. That's not necessarily helpful. We should be running new ads because it's helpful, and to help improve performance. But otherwise, enjoy the ride if you're getting good results. Let it roll. Because at the high budgets, as long as you got a bunch of ads in there and a bunch of options, you'll be fine for a while. They'll stop working eventually, or as well, and then you can start adding to them.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I think about it the same way. Sometimes, people are eager to doing more, testing more. Otherwise, you're not working, right? You're
Well,
doing your
yeah.
job. So sometimes not doing is doing more than or less harm than if we do more.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, look, A lot of my advice ultimately comes from what Meta has said officially. Because otherwise, you're just based in theory, sometimes conspiracy theories that aren't helpful. And one of the things that Meta really wants us to do is stop looking at the minutiae, or I've never used that word in my life. The things like that, the headlines, the primary text, the individual ads even, and like being obsessed over which ad is doing well, which ad's not, turning things off and whatnot. Meta wants us to be looking at the performance in aggregate. So if we've got 20 ads within an ad set, who cares about how each individual asset or ad is performing? Are you getting good performance in aggregate? Great. Then don't touch anything. You don't need to turn off certain ads to force ads to run and all that business. If you got,
You're saying, yes, or go ahead.
well, then kind of the flip side, if you've got multiple ad sets and you're using CBO, don't obsess over how an individual ad set's doing. Is your campaign doing well? Right. So point of that is like the people usually who want us to be constantly testing creative and whatnot are those who are obsessed with the individual things that Meta doesn't really want us to obsess over. That's where the breakdown effect happens, that Meta says, where we make too much out of small samples and think it means more than it does, and we think we can outsmart the algorithm, and we can't, and we just make results worse. So that's another adjustment I've been able to make over the last year or two, is like, it's so much easier when you look at things in aggregate as opposed to, well, this ad got 10 impressions and got 3 conversions, so it must be amazing. Why isn't Meta showing it more? Obsessing over that kind of stuff, it's nonsense.
And so what you're saying, are you suggesting, just to double check, that as long as things are working fine overall, we shouldn't be turning off ads that are underperforming?
Yeah. And look, the only reason I would turn off ads is like a last resort. Probably in the case of where you got a client it's really hard to get new creative from. So they're not giving you new stuff. So it's like, okay, well, we'll try this. Meta's showing these ads. I'm obviously not getting good results in aggregate. They're not showing these. They've never really shown these. What would happen if Meta actually did show those? Turn them off. I wouldn't necessarily expect anything out of that. There are a couple things to remember. First, usually Meta shows ads or doesn't show ads for a reason. Second thing is, what Meta is showing today isn't necessarily going to be what Meta shows tomorrow. So turning off ads prevents that from happening, prevents that switch. And especially in the case of creative fatigue and whatnot, like if you've got 10 ads in there and Meta's favoring 3, don't just turn off the other 7 or even a couple of them, because they may end up be increasing in usefulness later on, just not right now.
About the period of time to look at, because I think it's another misconception, but I think different media buyers, different playbook. But in this case, I think there's a common mistake, right? Like that people make looking at the period.
Yeah. And look, this is something, it's kind of made more sense to me lately, especially if you're optimizing for a purchase. A couple things happen. So whether you add new ads or you increase budget or whatever, advertisers freak out about a 2 to 3 day window. Like you're getting terrible results for 2 to 3 days or whatever it is. And that's when they start questioning everything they believe in and they turn things off. They're like, oh, why did I raise my budget? This is crashing and burning. I got to bring it back down. But when you understand technically what's actually happening, so if you're selling something and you put new ads out there or you increase the budget, a bunch of people are going to be seeing these new ads for the first time. And some of those people may click on it the first time they see it and convert. But that's not normal user behavior. It's a process. There's a reason why purchase 7-day click, 1-day view makes a lot of sense, right? It's a commitment. You might need to see an ad many times. You may need to talk to a business partner or spouse or whatever about making this commitment. You may need to be convinced through different types of ads about why this is a good fit for me. So when you've got either new ads or you start reaching a broader group of people for the first time, you're restarting that cycle. And as a result, you should not be looking at those results for a 1 day period, 2 day. Like, look, I obsess over daily performance too. I know it's not healthy. It's just what we do. But ultimately, you should be looking at 7-day windows, if not more. And I know we're talking mainly about bigger budgets, but even with bigger budgets, depending on the price point and your cost per acquisition on those, you might not be dealing with huge numbers. So you could have a large range of what's good and what's bad, or what seems to be good and bad. One of the most important things I think it's important for the advertisers need to understand, Meta's main job is showing your ad to people most likely to convert. After that, people are not robots. Meta is not capable of forcing someone to purchase. So if your results go down for a few days, it might have nothing to do with anything different that Meta was doing or that you did. Now, there's competition. There are other things that are happening in the background too. It just may have reached people at a bad time, or that group of people at a bad time. There's obsessing over a couple days is crazy. I mean, I went through this myself recently on a new ad set that I created, and it was not doing well. I mean, it didn't make any sense that it wasn't doing well because it was based on stuff that had been working well. And I stuck it out. And after a week, started getting a little bit better. It's been about 2 weeks now. And now all of a sudden, it's the best it's been. It's really easy to abandon it before that happens. But I think that, yeah, it's a common mistake. We obsess over those small windows, and we need to give it time.
What do you think about, or where do you stand in 2026? Because things change, of course. Cost caps, cost per result, results, or cost per target results, or target ROAS, let's say. Where do you stand there? Because I know it's a good practice on Google. Let's say you start running a campaign, and then you want to set a target cost per result or a target ROAS. But in Meta, it has never been the case, at least passively adopted. There are many people who use that. But where do you stand there on that now in 2026?
So here's the way I look at it. When you optimize for a conversion, or the performance goal is maximize number of conversions. Meta's goal is to get you as many conversions as possible within your budget. So Meta's already trying to get you the cheapest possible conversions. The thought is by using a cost per result goal or big cap. And by the way, am I the only one who missed the definition of big cap changed? Did you know this? So this is going to be an aside here, but Meta either changed the way it works or just describes it differently now. But Meta used to even discourage people from using big caps, saying unless you have all this data to understand what to bid in the auction, then don't even bother with it. So the way it read, at least, was you were bidding on impressions. You weren't actually bidding on the action. The cost per result goal is different. Big cap. But now a big cap actually is a cost cap. So you're setting the most you want to pay for that action, not impression. And Meta is very clear about that in the definition now. So maybe I'm the only one who didn't know that, but that's changed. That has changed. So point being, now you got cost cap, cost per result goal. They're both very similar things. One's more of an average, one's an actual cap. So the danger is what you're basically trying to do is outsmart the algorithm. Right? You're saying don't spend more than X on a purchase or conversion, whatever that conversion is, or don't spend more than on average, more than this amount. I don't use it. Look, there are people out there who swear by it. I think it is certainly risky because what is ultimately likely to happen is you're going to throttle it because look, Meta's I'm trying to get you the cheapest conversions possible. You're telling me to get them even cheaper. I'm spending 20% of your budget now. It's not working. And now slowly but surely, it just stops delivering entirely. Now, could there potentially be a strategy out there where you increase your budget to a crazy amount set a cost per result goal or big cap, and maybe it works. I
Well,
mean, I
I
guess,
got
but I know there's some people who swear by it. It seems kind of counterintuitive to me because Meta's already trying to get you the cheapest possible conversions.
I gotta say, I'm not a fan of that. I have tried that in the past, and we currently have some of those running, even though it's not something that we want. But we do acknowledge that for some clients we work with, it works well. Some campaigns work well, some don't. What you said, a high budget for astronomically high. He doesn't spend always, but when he spends, it's an extra thing. But for some other clients that we try the same, he will spend even if he's not getting to that target ROAS result, pick up whatever, and he will spend all the money at once with that high budget. I was like, what did you spend that? If we set a very low,
Yeah.
like, so, but the theory behind what people say or what people that who use these say is that Meta will look, as you said, for the lowest cost per conversion, and sometimes that could result in a lower AOV than if the bid higher. So with a higher bid, you might get a higher AOV purchase as well. So again, I know I'm always a fan of saying, you do you. I wanted to get a sense of whether it's something that maybe you're using now, because maybe again changed. I know Meta added some controls or some signals for telling Meta which customer segments or by demographic. I think it's ages, gender, or so
Value rules.
are
Yeah,
your
yeah.
your top spenders. So have you tried any of those? Does it work?
I love value rules, but not for that purchase or purpose. So it wouldn't be in addition to bidding. I would use value rules to solve a problem, right? Again, it'd be because Meta doesn't know about customer lifetime value. It's information that you have that Meta doesn't have. And so in the case of purchases, it would be because you know that, like, look, Meta's spending a lot of money trying to get the cheapest possible purchase. And so as a result, they're focusing on women age 65 and up because they're making the most purchases. But you have back end info showing, yeah, they're buying, but they're only buying once. So it's not about initial value. Otherwise, you just optimize for value. It's about lifetime value. And meanwhile, you've got this age group that's 35 to 44 that when they buy, you've got them for life. And they come back and they come back and they come back. Meta doesn't know that. So that's where you could use value rules to do one or the other. You could either increase your bid on that 35 to 44 or decrease your bid on that 65 and up where Meta was focusing there so they don't keep focusing there. Absolutely. That is a great tool to use to increase the value of your results. So not just purchase. I use it for leads, especially because I use that 65 and up as an example, but that's precisely what happens with my leads. Meta can get me all kinds of cheap leads from people 65 and up, but I don't think there are a lot. There are some 65 and up advertisers out there. There just aren't a ton. So Meta spending 30% of my budget there doesn't make any sense. What happened in the past before value rules is I would eliminate 65 and up when that happened. But when I did that, Meta just moved all that budget that was going to 65 and up to 55 to 64. Again, an age group I'm fine targeting. I just don't want to dedicate a huge percentage of my budget there. But they were doing that because I could get cheap leads. In the back end, I see they're cheap, but they're not necessarily as valuable as the sweet spot of 35 to 44 or 54. So again, that was counterproductive, but I had to just eliminate those ages. Now with value rules, what I do is I lower the bid on 65 and up by 50%, lower the bid on 55 and up by 20%, still spends on both of them, but it's like 3% of my budget on 65 and up now, and I don't know, 10% or so for 55 to 64. And it's just a much more natural curve that's representative of what I'm used to seeing that's reflected on the back end. So that's a prime example of using value rules to solve those kinds of problems You can also use it for things like placement. Now, this would normally not be if you're optimizing for conversion, but if you optimize for link clicks, landing page views, which I wouldn't recommend. But obviously, the audience network is a pile of garbage, and you'll get a ton of clicks from audience network in that case. Typically, we just remove the placement. My goal now is like, let's just keep Advantage Plus on. Who knows what kind of magical fairy dust that adds by keeping Advantage Plus on all the time, but I'm not going to fight it if you can just lower the bid by 90% on audience network in those cases. So yeah, value rules it's funny that Meta brought value rules in at the same time they are taking all this targeting control away, because there is a danger of misusing value rules when you don't
Yeah.
need to use them and just driving up your costs. But that's why I continually stress, use value rules to solve a problem, a true problem you've proven exists based on data you have that Meta doesn't, that you otherwise would have solved by restricting the algorithm. Now you don't have to because you have value rules.
We are almost wrapping up. I know I'm about to open a door to a very long and interesting topic, but we have a lot of, we cover a lot of interesting stuff that I think that are very relevant for today's, media buying era, everyday tasks, what everyone is doing right now. And I speak with many of them. You speak with 1,000 of them. And I guess that they all have similar questions. They have so many options, so many tools, but we only need to stick to some best practices, and that's what's working for everyone. So I wanted to make sure we covered those, and we did. But one last question under a few minutes, which I know it's hard because I cannot skip that in 2026, is how are you using AI for Meta ads? Or how do you see some people you trust using Meta ads? Is it for optimizing? Is it for getting ideas? Is it for reporting? What do you see out there these days?
I'm definitely using it. Look, I'm no AI expert. So like those out there who I know are doing some absolutely insane things with AI, I'm more of your novice in the area, but I use AI a lot. Not a lot in terms of like Meta ads processes and whatnot. Now, absolutely it helps me I'll sit down with it to talk through strategies, or when I say strategies, like messaging angles, coming up with rebranding of things. Like I had my weekly recaps, which is an email that goes out every week, and it's like a stupid generic name. And I went through, again, I don't just accept everything that AI gives me, but it's about having a conversation, about talking it through and telling it what I like and what I don't like, and came up with that is now called the loop. I came up with branding with it for it and everything that was talking through it with AI. I initially set up some API integration to create a dashboard using Claude Code. I just didn't find any value in it. I couldn't find a good way to surface more helpful information I wasn't getting from Meta's main interface, because the API can be limited in some cases. So there's certain data that wasn't available to me in the API. So I was like, well, I mean, that was fun. That was cool, but don't use it. Messaging options, like, look, it's not easy to come up with 5 primary text, 5 headlines. Generating some options, at least as a starting point. Again, talking through what I'm looking for, generating the starting point, making some edits and whatnot, helpful. What I use it most for, honestly, is on the I can't get into all this stuff I've been doing with Claude Code. Honestly, it blows my mind. It's solved a lot of problems related to, look, I'm not using Claude or anything else to like publish new content for me, right? When I use it, it's either creating reports for me that I was doing manually, or in like helping surface really important information that I had to dig for, or it's helping create these more real-time updated pieces of content that's clearly not written by me because it's in the third party saying, this is what Jon thinks about X. And that's where, man, I know I'm just scratching the surface on this stuff, but it's really helped me on the content planning and keeping things fresh side, which is like one of the biggest bottlenecks, I think, for me. Like I publish content 5 days a week, in terms of blog posts, videos, and podcast episodes. So whether it's like taking a transcript, like the script that I have for a podcast, and spitting out a readable transcript of it. Just little things like that. AI is sprinkled all over what I do without taking it over by any means.
It's every conversation I have these days. It's about the same thing, whether it's for e-com or outside e-com. It's uncertainty, excitement, overwhelm, because everything is overwhelming right now. Everything is uncertain. Everything is exciting. So we have all the fear of missing out, like FOMO. It's very real right now. I download my automation for implementing 1,000 ads in one click and this and wait, it's
Right.
too many. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
I've got two sides pulling at me, right? The utility of AI and how it can make my life better and easier. But also I see it in my feed every day. I don't want to be that guy.
right.
These dudes who every time I publish anything, AI generated comment on there. What are you doing? This isn't valuable. It's not useful. Or they're generating entire courses and stuff based on AI. And then they didn't do anything. It's not useful. So I don't want to be on that side. I still want to be human involved because I think I'm still an important part of this process. So yeah, it's a tough place to be though.
Jon, I could keep going for hours, but I want to be respectful with your time. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast for the fourth time. It's always
Yeah.
a pleasure to, brainstorm ideas, to, pick your brain, because I think you have a lot of, valuable nuggets to communicate and a lot of valuable lessons to teach. And in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but you still do it, right? You have your Power Heroes Club where you
Yeah.
used to be. So why don't you tell people who are listening to this, what do you do about that and where they can find more information about it?
Yeah, so I've had my private community now for 12 years, I think. And what it's intended for, I think, has evolved quite a bit. So, number one, if you need a community of like-minded advertisers with a wide variety of experiences and niches and expertise, and you just need someone to go to ask questions, great place. Okay. So more than 200 advertisers to help you. But most important is the real-time stuff. Once a week, I host strategy sessions. Usually about 25 or people or so show up. Anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, we just talk. So you've got a problem, bring it to the group. We'll talk it through, help you find a solution. My favorite time of the week. Beyond that, I've got now, which again, I used AI to help consolidate all of my content, which is really hard to consume because it's a lot. Because I said, I published 250 pieces of content last year, and I'll do the same thing this year, into an updated ad brief of what I believe in on 18 different topics that will remain updated. They're only for elite members. And then my AI generated chatbot, if you just need a back and forth with somebody, a thing that's trained on my content, trained on those ad briefs to talk through strategy, great benefit. And you can book one-on-ones with me at a deep discount as members. So you can learn more about that at jonloomer.com/elite.
And amazing. And I'm happy to hear that you still have that chatbot going on. I saw the questions from last year episode that was there. So it turned in turn one. Did you do a birthday party or so?
Yeah. Well, no, I've had it for more than a couple of years now. It started as just being on my main site on jonloomer.com, but I made it a paid benefit because people were using it so much. Honestly, I could tell people were using it to do things I wasn't really comfortable with, like to run their business kind of thing, right? This isn't great. So I made it as a paid benefit. I've still got one on jonloomer.com. It's just way more limited. It's supposed to have short answers and it's not trained on as much. So, but yeah, that's been a fun thing too, trying to constantly fine tune it to make it as valuable as possible, be as reflective of my kind of strategy and recommendations. So yeah, it's been a nice little benefit.
Jon, well, thank you again for being here. I had a blast. I admire you and I always enjoy your conversations. So thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Looking forward to the 5th year and coming back.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.